Hello, friends, and welcome back to episode 36 of the Jennuine Life Podcast. I'm your host, Jennifer Nicole, and I am so happy, as usual, to be here with you. And thanks for joining me. For all the OGs that tune in every time I post, thank you for coming back. And for anyone that is tuning in for the first time, thank you for being here. You're amongst a really cool group of people. We are a bunch of genuine souls. Get it? No, I'm kidding. We're a bunch of genuine souls that really like to gather together weekly to live life unapologetically and, you guessed it, genuinely. So welcome to the Jennuine Life Podcast. And as you know, I always like to kick things off with what I am sipping on. And so today I am actually taking it back, okay? I am drinking an Arizona iced tea today. Yeah. I saw this at a gas station and picked it up. And I was like, okay, this is really bringing back some memories here. So that is what I'm sipping on this evening. So feel free to take a moment to grab your beverage. Normally, back in the day, if you listen to the podcast like earlier episodes, I always had a glass of Stella Rosa with me, and have since transitioned to water and beverages, but who knows, might get back to the Stella Rosa. But today I'm also going to encourage you to grab a notebook and a pen, because I think you might want to take some notes. I want to talk a little bit about disappointment, which you may have gathered from the title of today's podcast episode. And I'm going to share just 2 or 3 things that will help you hopefully get over disappointment and overcome it. And some things that I talk about might feel like a refresher for some, and other moments might feel like light bulb moments. And then, it's always good to just key a little bit and talk. So it's cool if you just want to listen as well. But I am hoping that you stay with me. And, there were a series of events that led up to this particular podcast episode. So I wasn't even going to talk about this actually, but earlier this week, this is what started it. Okay. And I hate to put them on blast, because if you know me, you know I love some Cheesecake Factory, but they really disappointed me this week. And down from the customer service, I had done curbside. I'm not going to tell you the whole story because I can make it a long story, but I ordered curbside. Long story short, well, I kind of have to tell you this part, but because I ordered curbside, my sister and I drove up there with the dogs. I didn't have a bra on. She definitely wasn't dressed to go in to pick up the food, because we were doing curbside. We pull up. I do the little thing where I text like, oh, I'm in parking spot 1. They respond and tell me to come in and get my food. So I'm like, this has to be a generic text. Like, I literally ordered curbside. I respond. I say, hey, I'm in parking lot, space number 1. And for about 25 minutes, there's no response at all. So finally I call, and, in a very lackadaisical kind of voice, I'm being told that I should not have been able to place a curbside order that day, and that everyone is being instructed to come in. So it wasn't even the fact that, like, yes, 2 well-bodied people in the car could totally go in and get their food, but it was the principle, right? Like, the purpose was I ordered curbside. And I also have worked, not necessarily in hospitality, but I know what it's like to be in a busy space. I know what it's like to be overwhelmed in a moment, right? I don't know if they were short-staffed. I don't know if they were super busy. But what I do know is that somebody could have ran that meal out, right? So I never got over it. Like, I literally was in the car typing out my email to customer service, which still hasn't been responded to, by the way. So that kind of kicked off this week of disappointment. Then I had a trip planned with a friend of mine to celebrate my birthday, not this week, but the week after, that I have pushed back. So it's not canceled, it's just pushed back, but it was disappointing because I really was looking forward to it. But realistically, it just wasn't going to work out with work and timing and just everything. I just didn't think I'd have as much fun as I would like. So that was disappointing. And then if you follow me on Instagram, I shared that my birthday is actually on Sunday, October 24th. And I, kind of already didn't know what I wanted to do for my birthday. But when I did decide what I wanted to do, I think I was a little disappointed with maybe like the lack of excitement I was feeling, and the lack of excitement I think I was expecting from other people. And it just kind of like, I don't know if it's just me, like maybe because I'm getting older, but birthdays used to be like a really, really big thing for me. And I don't know what's happened, but I'd rather just like either travel somewhere now or like spend it on the couch. So that was kind of disappointing because I'm like, I don't know what this means. Is this because I'm getting older? Like, what is this? So, yeah. So then it got me to thinking, disappointment, right? I think first, being me, I was like, I have to define what this is. Like, what really is it really? And so disappointment is defined as sadness or displeasure caused by the non-fulfillment of one's hopes or expectations. And I think the key words here are hopes and expectations, right? We've all heard the advice to detach ourselves from an outcome. We're told to go with the flow, but we're all human, and sometimes people, places, and things are going to cause major disappointment. It's just a fact of life, right? It hurts even more when people don't show up for us the way that we hope, or trips, for instance, that we had planned that don't turn out the way that we expected, gadgets or things that we buy or appointments that we make that don't turn out to go the way that we planned, jobs that we want that we don't get, folks that we get into relationships with, or people that we marry that we want to return to sender. Oops, did I say that? But seriously, right? Like, it's just a fact of life. We're all going to be disappointed at some point, and some of us find ourselves disappointed multiple times throughout the day, right? So what do you do to fight something that is guaranteed to happen? And as I was thinking about this, I just decided to write some things down. So before I even go into this, I am not a counselor. I am not a therapist. I don't have a degree in these things. I just have a degree in something called hard knock life. Okay. I have been disappointed many times before. And I just feel like these things have helped me out, and I'm hoping that they can help you as well. And again, they could be refreshers, but I think they're good to talk about. So the first thing I think that you should do when you are battling a situation that is disappointing is to just feel it. Don't deny it, right? Don't say, ugh, why do I feel this way? I shouldn't even be upset. I should have expected this. I don't even know why I was even expecting more from you, right? We've said that. Or I don't even know why I was expecting this place to be nice anyway. We do that. But I say, feel what you're feeling, right? Don't deny it. If you're disappointed, if you go to a restaurant and you had high expectations and it really wasn't what it was supposed to be, just feel that out. Like, you know what? I came to this place, and while I appreciated the time that I spent with family, friends, or the bartender or my waitress, this really didn't turn out the way that I anticipated it to, right? Feel it, don't deny it, acknowledge it. Your feelings are valid and they are real. And it's totally fine to recognize them, but the key is we don't dwell in this disappointment. It needs to be released, right? So if we go to this restaurant, we don't really like how it turned out, we're not really feeling it, it's important to acknowledge it in the moment, but then we don't get in the car and start talking about it. Then we get on social media and then we got to tell all our friends, like, this place sucks. Like, don't go here. I mean, unless they just like did some crazy stuff, but you know what I mean? Like, then we wake up the next morning and then we calling all our friends, girl, this place stinks. You know, it's just like we carry all that energy with us. And what I'm saying is what you want to do is it has to be released. We don't dwell in it. So now you're probably thinking like, okay, well, release it. How? Okay. You want to make sure you're releasing it in a healthy way. Okay, because you can release it, right? Like if somebody disappointed you, you can release it by fighting, but we don't promote violence. But I'm saying, like, you get my drift, right? We're not going to release it that way. You can release your disappointment so many different ways, but ways that I have found to be beneficial is to talk to somebody that you can trust and someone that you can be vulnerable with. And I added that last part in there because a lot of times what's disappointing to you may not be disappointing to somebody else. And if you share something that is disappointing to you, that has really hurt you, and you're telling it to somebody that really doesn't care or doesn't share the ability to be empathetic or sympathetic with you, it is going to make you angrier, right? And so you need to have someone that you can talk to, that you can trust, but the key here is someone that you can be vulnerable with, someone who will be there to listen and allow you that ear, right? Sometimes we don't want people to respond with a solution to everything, right? Just listen. That's all I need you to do. And then sometimes that helps, right? Sometimes you just need to let it out. And then once it's out, we can move on and keep it moving and life is well again. But I think the important thing here is finding someone you can trust, someone that you can be vulnerable with. Okay, let's say you don't have that. You guys know what I'm about to say next. Journal it out. And it doesn't even have to be a fancy journal. Grab a napkin, a piece of paper, get fancy. I know a lot of people who pick up their phones now and they just open up the notes section and they will type everything out. You can lock it if you don't want anyone else to read it. If you've been watching You on Netflix, season 3, holla. I was up till 3 o'clock in the morning. I binged all 10 episodes in one day. Don't be like me. But it did not disappoint me though. You like what I did there? But I'm not going to, this is not a spoiler here, but at one point, we all know Love lost her brother in season 2. I mean, I guess that is a spoiler if you don't watch the show, but I'm hoping you do. Anyway, in this new season, we see that a part of her healing, because I consider that healing, is she texts her brother, text him knowing that his phone is dead and that no one's ever going to read these messages, but it's her way of releasing secrets and things that are kind of pent up and things that she holds inside. And she just texts him. So that's a good idea. Like, I actually got this idea from a really good friend of mine, Sean, who, by the way, is probably blocking me because I send him really obscene memes, but that's a whole nother podcast episode. But anyway, he actually does that. He texts himself. He'll send himself messages, thoughts, like if he is in the middle of like something that is really good and he just doesn't want to forget it, he'll just text himself. So do the same thing, right? If you have something that you need to get out, get it out, right? If that is writing it down, texting yourself, opening up the note section in your phone, whatever, email yourself if you have to. But sometimes literally writing it out helps. But the key to that is don't think about it. Just write. Don't worry about punctuation. Don't worry about grammar. Don't worry if your sentence structure is okay. Just write. Get it out. Curse if you need to. Scribble if you need to. It is a form of healing and it is super, super beneficial. Okay? Finally, I'm going to leave you with this. Do not have an expectation, right? Live in the moment and accept people, places, and things and situations as they are. Comparison is the thief of joy, okay? If you go to New York City and you are there on vacation with your friends for the first time, but you spend the entire weekend comparing it to Las Vegas or LA, you're missing the entire point and you're going to be disappointed because you're not appreciating New York City for what it truly is because you're comparing it to something else, right? If you are faced with a person that is disappointing you, because you were expecting them to live up to this image or this idea of who you thought they were in your head. Because we do that, right? We have this whole ideal of who we think people should be, how they should behave, how they should dress, what they should say, how they should react to something. I mean, and we're all guilty of this. I would never do that. That's not how I would have done it. And that's our first mistake. You're exactly right, because they are not you. And it's when we start to pitch ourselves up against other people, whether consciously or subconsciously, or we put other people up against other people, whether consciously or subconsciously, we are bound for disappointment. Don't do it. It's when you live in the moment that you can truly appreciate exactly what you're being presented with without expectation. So if you have a trip planned, for instance, it is totally fine to go there with a plan, but it's also okay to just kind of let it flow and let things be and accept things for exactly as they are in the moment without any expectations, because then you truly appreciate the experience for what it is. And there's nothing to be disappointed about, because you had went into a situation without any extra layers of expectation. And I'm not saying, to walk around without hope. I'm not saying to walk around without expectation. I think that there's a healthy balance to it, right? If you're someone who is looking for work right now, yes, you absolutely need to be hopeful that you're going to find a job. You absolutely need to expect that you're going to find a job. But what you don't want to do is attach your value to a job interview or the result of a job interview. You have to learn to separate the two, right? So you can walk into a job and now, instead of saying, I'm expecting to walk out of this interview today with a job offer, I know I'm going to get it. Now there's a difference, right? There's manifestation and there's speaking things into existence. And this is where I say you have got to be very careful, because it is a fine line. But if you say those things, you also have to be prepared for the latter, right? Because there is a chance that you can walk away without an offer, and you have to be okay with that result as well. And you have to be confident that, okay, if this didn't work out, that only means that there's something else out there for me. And it makes that other result not so bad. Not so bad. And I'm not sitting here telling you that it's not going to hurt, because it will. All disappointment hurts. I don't care if you bought an Apple Watch and it stopped working, and it's going to hurt, right? Like everybody, you have plans. If you go out and you buy a dress for a birthday party, you have plans for that dress. You already in your mind have pictured how you're going to look when you walk into the room. Guys, you go get your hair cut. You already know what you're going to, look like when you leave the barbershop, and then you get there and he puts a part on the wrong side, or he kind of messes up your edges, or I probably said all this wrong, but it's disappointing, right? All of that's disappointing. It hurts. It sucks. But we can't dwell there, and it won't be the first disappointment, and it won't be the last. But I think if we start to implement these things, we start to feel them, don't deny them, we release them, I think it'll be helpful. And I actually forgot one more thing. If someone disappointed you, I encourage you to tell them as well. And again, I'm not encouraging violence, so I don't want anybody to take what I said in a whole different direction. I'm not saying confront them in a nasty way. I'm saying, you know what? I really didn't appreciate what happened the other day. It really hurt my feelings. And be prepared for some people to gaslight, because people do that, or people to try to water down your feelings. Be prepared for all of that. But I think when we stand in our truth and we honor our feelings and we are bold in standing up for ourselves, it really doesn't matter what the result is. It doesn't matter how it's being received or what somebody else says. Sometimes you have to put yourself first, and doing that, it makes you feel good. It really does, because you holding it in does absolutely nothing for you. And it causes the other person is still living. They are still living their lives. Them folks at Cheesecake Factory did not care about me after I left with my bag. You think they cared? I was disappointed. I was angry. I was sitting in that car typing so hard, and they had moved on with their lives. Because at the end of the day, I still went in and got that food. Well, actually, Alyssa did, but yeah, I had to do that before she texted me to you ain't going in and get that food, But anyway, and so I want to remind you of that, right? While we sit in our disappointment, while we're dwelling, while we're holding grudges, that other person or place or thing is still moving on. They're living. While you sitting there talking about how much you hate Kentucky and it sucks and the people suck. I don't know anything about Kentucky, so I just threw that out there. I don't want anybody from Kentucky emailing me, but while you sitting there fussing, somebody loves it, and Kentucky's moving on with their lives, right? And so I hope you all are getting what I'm, picking up what I'm putting down here. Disappointment is a fact of life, but I think when we empower ourselves to overcome disappointment, we really become much stronger than we know. And that's all I want for you. I don't want you to be dwelling in disappointment. I don't want you to create false narratives in your head about other people, places, things, situations. And I want you to know that your feelings are valid. It is totally normal to be disappointed in something. It is totally normal to want something to have gone one way and it went went a completely different direction. It is all good. It's okay. The important thing is to redirect yourself, come up with a different plan, detach any expectations, and just let things be. Let it flow and accept things and people and places as they are. And if you do that, you'll never find yourself disappointed, because you'll learn to accept people, places, and things as they are. Yeah. And that's what I got for you today. That is what I have. So I'm hoping, actually, that's not all I have for you. I also want to, this is totally different from, well, not really different from disappointment, but I also want to share this with you. And I guess these two will kind of tie in together now that I think about it. I would say maybe over the course of the past 2 weeks, I have seen a lot of posts about friends and family losing loved ones. And I just want to remind you that life is really, really short. And I don't want to get like super dark. I always try to stay super light on this podcast, but I was really reminded of how quickly life passes us by. I was reminded of how valuable every single moment is, and that we literally take advantage of how beautiful it is that we fall asleep at night and wake up in the morning. I want you to appreciate your bodies, your mind. I want you to love yourself. Our bodies do incredible work for us while we sleep at night, when we wake up, while we're functioning every day. Just take a moment to really dwell in how amazing you are, and understand that someone is not here anymore, but you are. And you have an opportunity to not only change your life if you're not happy with something, but if you are feeling great, you can help change someone else's life. And that's simply through a hello, a smile, a donation, a volunteer opportunity, whatever it is. But I really just want to remind you of how important it is to live your life to the fullest. Okay. And whatever that means to you. And I think we will talk about this in another episode, but please don't let society or social media define what living your best life looks like. It's whatever it is for you. You have to do it. You have to do it because you do not know. You don't know if you're going to be here tomorrow or if your loved ones are going to be here tomorrow. And so tell people that you love them, forgive people, and just move on. And I guess this all does tie into disappointment. Again, I say it again. People are going to disappoint you, places and things, but that should not stop the show. You got to keep pressing, because if it won't matter 5 minutes from now, let it go. If it won't matter 5 months from now, really let it go. And if it's not going to matter 5 years from now, blink and really let that thing go. Okay? And then for anyone who has lost a loved one, please accept my condolences to you. And just know that I am thinking of you and your family during this time. And I'm just wishing all of you well. I really want you to put yourselves first and take the time that you need to be well. Please know that your jobs will be here as well. Okay. So don't think you need to be working 85 hours a week. Take some time for yourself and love on your loved ones and your friends. And if you have little pets, hug on them too. But I am wishing you so much success. I hope you have a great weekend because as I'm recording this, you guys are listening to this episode on a Friday. And so I am hoping that you have a fantastic weekend. And thanks for joining me today. It was fun as usual. If you are interested in keeping up with me, you know where to find me. Instagram is usually where I hang out. So you can follow me on Jennuine at Jennuine Life. You can also email me, and that's Jennifer@JennuineLife.com. I'll put all of this in the show notes. I've had a few people ask if they could send like a birthday card or a Cashapp or anything like that. You do not have to do any of that at all. But if you want to, I'll list all that information in the show notes as well. And just know that I'm grateful. And then I think that's really it. LinkedIn. Yep, you can find me there too. I hang out every now and then. Messaging is still pretty backed up, so I probably wouldn't send me a message. Email is really good. And then, of course, IG. But anyway, thank you for continuing to tune in, for sharing, for subscribing, for rating, and for leaving a post or review. It is greatly appreciated. I'm wishing you all well. I'm sending you hugs and tons of love. Have a fantastic weekend and even stronger start to your week next week. And we'll connect next Friday because I already have another episode ready for you. Yeah, your girl's on point, okay? Have a good one, and I will talk to you soon.